Alrighty then, so let's continue with the next shot. So yeah, it's going to be our shot 2. I've saved it out as a separate render scene. You don't have to do that, but I've done that for the files, so there should be a separate render scene. Again, you can also just keep working in your own scene. Normally, I don't particularly save it out as a separate render scene. I just version it up. But so what we can now do is we can essentially just grab all of our nodes here. Now let's just paste them in Solaris here. Then we can reuse a lot of the stuff here. Of course, we need to repurpose a bunch of things here because not everything is the same. But it should be a lot more straightforward to set up now that we already know how to do everything, and essentially now we already built a lot of the network structure. So that's a definite benefit of Solaris. It's much easier to sort of reuse this stuff, similar to why it's very useful to do lighting shading in Houdini in general, because you can, or just working in Houdini in general, because you can just copy nodes from one project to another, reuse stuff, etc., etc. So anyway, let's start filling up our LOPS context here. So I'm just going to bring this to the side. So let's link to the second view for now, and let's check out our environment scatter. So that's the, oh, those are the droplets. Let me just double check in my other scene. Oh, so those are the plants. I guess we called them wrong, so I guess call them scatter plants. Right. And those are, that's the hero leaf, and then that's the front plant. All right. Yeah, so in here, scatter plants. And then go in there. Oh, we need to, of course, copy and paste our nodes that create our proper groups. So let's just go back to our other scene to do that. So go in environment scatter and copy and paste all the groups that we made, and it should theoretically, oh, if we actually grab it, should theoretically all work. Scatter plants out, scatter plants, something like that. Let's drag it in. Boom. So look on here over the left. You can see we have our scatter plants. Main plant, that is going to be the hero plant here. Again, we probably need to repurpose those nodes. Main plant, there we go. Let's see if that works. Or let's see, maybe, did we do, okay, we didn't do object level transfer. Okay, so that's, oh yeah, we're not looking through the camera, so that's correct. Hero leaf. Guess we can drag in the, oh, we can drag in the hero leaf here. So that's going to be our hero leaf there. So that's also looking good. So as you can see, it's pretty straightforward here to just repurpose everything. This is going to be the hero droplet, I guess. It's, oh, big drop is going to be our hero drop. So that's going to be this one. Maybe, so this was a object level import. Maybe what we want to do in this case, we want to do sub level. So let's go into big drop. Let's just load it in like that. Turn off the group there. And you know what? Let's do a new sub import. Sub imports. Big drop. Is the skill actually? Right, so there, okay, so there's something with a skill here. Just, oh, right. So we do need the object level because we had some object level transforms on our big drop. For some reason, I'm actually not sure why we have those there, but I guess we do. I mean, doesn't necessarily matter. I'm just a little bit confused as to why we have them. All right. Anyway. So these are going to be the rain droplets, I guess, in the background. So I guess that's going to be this stuff. So that's the rain in the background here. And let's just remove the other stuff because that's basically all the rain we have. So we don't have a difference between the rain in the background and the foreground. So now we have all of our droplets here, repurposed. Can go down here, all right? That's looking good. See our very large leaf. Go in here. Let's just already merge our, or let's just look over here. So there's some stuff here that's not proper. Oh, the ground, by the way, but there's also some stuff that's not properly assigning with the background stuff here. So that's this thing. Stage manager. Let's have a look. Environment. Get our plants. Put them in environment there. Okay, so we do have a problem here. So we need to get our hero leaf, put it in a different thing because we don't want to assign the same material, right? So probably need to merge that in here. We're gonna do that in a different collection. Call this. Let's make a collection here and call it hero. Stage manager, environment, plants. Let's take let's put it in there. All right. All right. Just need to figure out why the environment is not being assigned yet. Oh, okay. So it is assigning a couple of those things. Oh, I guess that's here the scatter plants. All right. And then on the peppermint here, we can just go in the plants, see which one we don't have. Scatter plants. All right. All right. Quick enough. So it's not all instantly picking up. I guess you could build it in a way that it is, but still getting used to the whole workflow. But you can see it's still pretty fast to assign all this stuff. I think our rain should also already be assigned properly, but we can have a look here. Droplet. All right, so those seem to be assigned, so that's fine. So now we need to build, or we can, I guess, go over here. Then we can build our material for this one. So you can see the camera here loads in correctly. Let's turn off materials for now, so we can actually see the droplet here. So let's assign the material to our big leaf, and again, that's the material that we made before, which we might need to rework a little bit because that's our own scan. All right, so let's add our material that we made in the material library. So let's do another principled shader, and let's call this our hero leaf. Hero leaf, all right, and let's do a little bit more whiter base color, and let's go to textures. And let's start adding this stuff. So that's $root/assets. Let's browse. And then we go to textures. And we have our leaf texture that we made. I'm just going to use the base color here. Let's already assign it so we can actually see what we're doing. So hero leaf over there. And then what do we want to assign? We want to assign our hero leaf. Right, here we go. Let's enable textures again. All right, there we can see. Beautiful, it's our little hero leaf. All right, so let's assign the other stuff. All roughness. Let's just copy this path here. Okay, let's actually assign it. Roughness. Can just use the JPEG. Reflectivity. Specular. Probably. And let's go to bump and normals. Let's enable the normal here. Did we actually export that or did we not? Normal, yeah, let's use the EXR. There we go, a little bit. Let's use a little bit of displacement, enable texture displacement. And just let's use the height.exr there. All right. So that's all assigned. So probably need to revisit our lights and some of our materials, but let's just try this in Karma, see what it looks like. Takes a little bit to initialize, of course. All right, let's do the thing where we turn off the depth of field again. I'm not. Oh, okay, that's too much displacement. I don't understand why they do displacement on by default, but all right, let's do a very tiny displacement scale. All right. Let's see what the normals are actually doing. I want a little bit of normal. Not too much. In general, it's looking decent. Let's turn on our denoising again. Like I mentioned in the previous thing, you can keep working on the on the material if you really want to make it the best material possible, basically. But in essence here, this is already working quite well. Of course, we need to change our lights and stuff like that. Don't particularly like our fluid yet, so we need to work on that a little bit. Let's maybe first start with our lights, so we get a little bit of a better light setup that we can keep working on. By the way, before we do that, let's maybe actually play a little bit with the settings on this material itself. So I want this leaf to be a little bit less reflective. Maybe increase the roughness a little bit, or let's decrease the roughness a little bit. All right, something like that. All right, so let's play a little bit with these lights. You can just zoom out here. Let's have a look where we actually put all of our lights. All right, so there's this rim light. I guess we can turn that off for now. Let's grab this ski light thing. All right, so that already seems to be roughly in the correct spot that I want it. It's a little bit too intense, maybe. Let's turn that down. We probably need to. Yeah, on this, let's disable this light mixer for now. Just gonna do it on the lights itself. And that one. So do a null here, so I'm gonna look at that thing. Right. Alright, let's grab dome light. Let's turn that down a little bit. Key light, let's see what it looks like if we turn it off. All right, okay, so I feel like it's not doing too much. Is it rotated again the wrong side? Yeah, okay, so it's really confusing to me that the side with the Z, that looks like sort of a pointer, but it's actually the back side, so it's kind of seems a little bit weird. Let's really crank this up. Why is it not working? Okay, I guess we we do need to increase this. $1,000, $10,000. All right, yeah, okay. Something like that. That's of course a little bit too extreme, but like that. So I guess we can reduce this. Let's reduce the size a little bit. We want it to be somewhat harder shallows, I guess. Let's look through this thing. I'm thinking that our hero leaf here is a little bit maybe too bright. Let's turn down the albedo multiplier a little bit. Because you know we can sort of reduce that. Let's increase the roughness a little bit. Maybe the displacement is still too extreme. I think maybe I do want some light shining sort of from the background, so you kind of have a feeling that there's some bright light shining through those things as well. So let's remove that rim. Let's just copy and paste our key. Call that one rim, just because I know that these settings are now somewhat decent. Let's make that one really big. Right, it's a little bit too extreme. Let's make it, let's reduce the intensity. All right, let's make it a little bit smaller, and we just want to put this somewhere in the back here. And for some reason, for some reason the controls are a little bit weird. It's not showing in the viewport. Cylinder, alright, distance, disk, alright, so it's just really big, so let's make it a little bit less really big, and let's go back to this thing. Let's just put it somewhere over there. Let's increase the intensity. Look through that thing. All right, it's already looking a lot better. So again, what we're just trying to do is just sort of try to create a little bit of contrast. So like without this thing, I mean, this does get sort of loose from the background, but the background itself here is just really boring. We do want to get sort of a nice, like a little bit of a nicer vibe, so that's why we sort of, if we do something like this, it's maybe a little bit too extreme. Again, it's going to be very blurred. So I guess if you wanted to try that, you could enable the depth of field, and then you could play with your camera. If you wanted to demo that out. So if you actually want to try that out, what you should probably do, if you want to just do your depth of field in render, you could go over here again, back in SOPs. Let's call this one focus. So you would go to your camera and you go to sampling, and then we have the focus distance here. And then we could say, all right, V length, so vector length, and it would go VT origin, so vector to origin. So we're gonna measure from the origin of the camera to something else. So from origin of the camera, and then to focus. So we make a focus null, put it between backticks, and then let's remove why it's not working. Oh wait, I think I'm forgetting a bracket there. All right, so you can see this evaluates to the vector length, and then what we can do here in SOPs is just put that thing. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Let's put it to where we want to focus. So again, it's going to measure sort of the distance from the origin of the camera, which is somewhere in the center there, to to this thing. Again, we're not gonna render a depth of field into the shot, or like you could do that if you want, but I'm not gonna do that here. So we're gonna put it like that, and now we have focus set for our camera. And if we go back to over here to the left, and if we now go back to Karma, again, it's going to initialize a little bit, and we can, as you can see now, our focus is over there. So again, we can play with the f-stop. So now we can get a little bit better view of roughly what it's going to look like. Looks nice with a little bit of denoising in there. So it's already looking pretty good now. You can see it like our leaf texture actually holds up pretty well, but again, you can play with that and you can make it better if you wanted to. Let's play a little bit with the droplets, because the droplets here are, of course, well, they're standing out a little bit too much. So let's go into our materials. Let's grab the droplets, and maybe you actually want to just reduce the opacity a little bit. You know, that's not particularly accurate. That does seem to somewhat do the trick. Again, we have these fake caustics. Let's see what happens with that on and off. All right, so that's where you can kind of see what these fake caustics are doing. And this might be good to sort of do a snapshot. And I'm just a little bit confused as to why the view. All right, now it is working. So I guess it was just a bug last time. So here's with that, and then let's enable. Let's or by the way, we need to enable shadow opacity. Alright, don't turn it down. See if we might try to make this. Nah, okay, it's not that extreme. Alright, let's just do another snapshot. Let's view image. Right. It's pretty subtle. But you can see the sort of the shadow the shadows get a little bit decreased. So let's just maybe, I'm not sure if we actually want them too much. Maybe we do. Let's do it like that, and let's turn the shadow opacity like halfway. And maybe we want just playing around with what it is that we're doing here. Oh, we probably want some dispersion. And see what happens if we turn down the reflectivity a little bit. Right, and then let's do the opacity thing. Alright, something along those lines, I guess. Let's do in the viewport here. Let's do the friction limit, increase it, so just so we know that none of the black stuff is coming from an issue over there. Let's make our view here a little bit bigger. Still not super fond of how it's looking. Let's have a look if our does this actually. All right, let's turn off import materials, by the way. Oh, we need to, of course, treat it as subdivision surface, so that's already gonna help, because now it's gonna subdivide the droplet a little bit. All right, so that does help. All right, so like in my original, I had it more like this. Trying to sort out where the difference is particularly coming from. I think it might also have something to do with the lights here. So maybe let's Let's grab the key light thing. Let's do the color temperature a little bit warmer. Let's make this a little bit more bright. Let's reduce the opacity scale a little bit more. Let's go to it's a little bit difficult to match it completely to other because the droplets are also looking different. Like here they were a little bit bigger. You see here with the shadow opacity, you can change the caustics. I'm gonna try to move them up a little bit. I want to see if that makes a little bit of a difference, if they're a little bit above the... Let's turn off this. See if this actually works with the transform. No, it doesn't. Probably need to do the star thing again, and then it does work. Again, like I'm a little confused as to why that sometimes does work and sometimes doesn't work. All right, let's just try to see what kind of a difference we get if we either move it up a little bit or if we nest it a little bit. Turn on the materials, all right. All right, so you can see if we nest them a little bit into the leaf, it seems like we are getting more of the look that I'm after. All right, so let's have a look at that. Again, all this stuff is not an exact science. It's just, I mean, it's art. So you just play and then try to come up with something that you think looks good. You see these, if you don't enable these fake caustics, you can see there they turn basically black here because they are going through the leaf. But if we can turn down the shadow opacity of those things, and then we can actually make it work. Let's increase the IOR a little bit. Again, I'm not particularly being physically accurate with all of these things that I'm doing here, but it works. Let's see if we can... Oh wait, no. I need to actually do the transparency color. Let's see if we add a little bit of color to this. If we can make it look interesting. No, I think I'm gonna keep that white. I think I'm gonna make the hero leaf itself a little bit darker still. So I think it's taking a little bit too much attention. And let's increase the HDRI light a little bit. Let's play with color temperature. Something like that. We can still do a lot in compositing. Like this was what it was with my thing. Let's turn on the depth of field again. If we look through the camera, I think it looks reasonable enough. It looks pretty good. I like how it sort of breaks from the background. That's more than we had here. I actually like that better. I think I like the droplets here maybe a little bit better. Overall, I think it looks pretty decent. I'm maybe gonna try with the hero leaf with the displacement. See what happens if we do negative displacement to sort of invert that. Again, we don't really have that much displacement to begin with, so just playing around with this whole thing. All right, now I think positive would be better. So now it's looking. All right, something like that. Basically, that's our shot. Of course, we still have to rain. Let's double check if our motion blur is actually doing anything before we render it. But we might even just be able to just do that in compositing for this one. Let's just have a look at our big drop. Right, let's go into our big drop and let's investigate. So there's velocity there. Let's try if we say v at v times equals 50. See if that changes anything. I don't think it will, but let's see if we are extracting the attributes properly. And sometimes Slavers is still a mystery to me as to why stuff suddenly breaks that worked in other scenarios, but I mean, I guess it is what it is. All right, let's try something else. Let's make a geometry node. Let's object merge our big drop in there. Let's put a null. Let's use a sub import, because we're using object import here. So let's try this with a sub import. Right, so now that does work. And we needed to do it with a separate node here because this one had object level transform still in there. So RNGR drop. So that's why I mentioned before that it's generally better to not have those object level transforms. All right. And all right, so we have a bunch of, so let's turn off the velocity override thing that we had there because that's obviously not gonna work. All right, so now let's go into our actual thing here again. Look to our camera. Oh, now of course the path here is not working again. So good fun indeed. Let's call it hero drop. Let's go to our stage manager. FX. Hero drop. Droplet. Hero drop, where are you? Right. All right, there we go. A little bit of motion blur. So let's just highlight our karma thing here. I think our settings here should basically be fine. Again, depth of field now here is off, but you could also render it into the depth of field if you want that. I know some people prefer just rendering a beauty from their render engine and just only do a little bit of grading and compositing. I generally composite a little bit more. I like having some flexibility after the fact, so I don't have to re-render. But if you don't want to do any of the compositing stuff, you can also just render it like this. I think the settings are fine. You can see they're relatively fast still, so this is going to be like a little bit under a minute for a frame. So then the only thing that remains for this shot is again also our rain. So let's do that. Let's go into our rain. Let's do the same thing here where we load our rain into our scene. Boop, rain. Look at that, we have rain. We are fetching things. Let's see if it is actually will render right out the gate, or if we need to change some things. Okay, looks looks like we actually need to set our P scale because we didn't have that yet. So let's do the P scale thing. P scale, I think we had 0.005, something like that. Let's try it again. And let's try it in here. And this actually seems to work quite well. Again, depending on what look you're going for, you might not want these things on the at the front of your camera. But again, this renders pretty fast, so you can just have a go at trying different versions of that. But in general, it's pretty fast. So just play around with that. But this is all working. So again, then you can just go to your out view. Let's just double check if all of our AOVs here are working. But then you can submit your stuff to deadline. So we can actually grab that from our old file after we checked the right tab, looking good. Normal. Primvars. Oh, by the way, we actually need to look our camera, but you can see now we have a whole bunch of extra things. Right, so looks good. So then we can do the fetch thing. Just drop our thing in and call this main. And then the other thing, we do a second one and call that rain. Bring it in. Boop. And then you could do merge. And then you could render it node by node, frame by frame. You could do deadline, HQ, whatever you want. But yeah, that's this shot for you. You can see this went a lot faster than the previous one. We only needed to repurpose some of the stuff. So you can see how this Solaris workflow is pretty nifty. Again, you could probably optimize all of these workflows a lot more, so you have to do less manual things. But in general, this is how it works. So with that out of the way, let's head into the next shot where we're gonna be lighting and shading our lime. Actually, one more thing that I almost forgot here, and that is if we want to render this with the actual motion blur in the render, we need to also enable it here on the camera rob. So velocity blur and velocity blur, else it's not gonna render. This is one of those things where I'm confused why it's not on by default. So they enable depth of field by default, but they don't enable motion blur by default, even though I generally want to render with motion blur and no depth of field. So that's a little bit weird. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's head over to the next shot.